All right. We have people coming in. Great to see everybody. I'm Ed O'Keefe. I am super excited to have you with us today to discover how Dr. Scott's clients are adding an extra 20 to 100,000 per month to their clinics. And even just in November, his top client did over 3 point, I think it was over 3.2 million using the same exact system that Dr. Scott has invented and created. Now, a couple of things really quickly before we get started. One of the biggest things to understand is that the goal of this is to not give you more stuff to do, not give you more stuff to overwhelm you or create more complexity in your life. I think by the end of this, you'll have a clear picture as to how Dr. Scott Gray has created a system that completely eliminates the need to do unqualified free consults with patients who should not be in your clinic, wasting time of yourself and your team. So, one other quick little note at the end of this is that we will be open up for Q&A if you want to stay on to the end. And the biggest thing that I just want to stress, having worked with Dr. Scott across different clinics at different levels, is that at each area you go up, you're going to have different blockages and things that come in your way. And one of the things that most people do that stops them and prevents them from getting the results is they just try and do it on their own. And a quick little funny story is Michael Phelps. We all know who Michael Phelps is. Michael Phelps is the most decorated swimmer of all time. And one of the things that Michael Phelps, his coach, would always do is he would go and poke holes into his goggles. And the reason he did that is because during training, he wanted Michael to feel every single thing that could possibly go wrong when looking to be a champion. And lo and behold, on his actual record-setting gold medal race, his goggles actually broke. And you see pictures of it where they're actually wrapped around his nose as he had to swim with water going to his eyes. And the best thing about it was that he had a coach who could see around the corner. And so, no matter what level of growth you're currently at, when it comes to stem cell patient attraction and regenerative medicine patient attraction, and Scott can actually talk to almost everything in your clinic, there's no one better than Dr. Scott Gray. So, with that said, take tons of notes. Get ready to take action, and it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Scott Gray.
Hey, thanks so much, Ed. Really appreciate it, man. Excited to share this information today. We're really going to talk to you about how you really do fill your clinic with qualified patients, but also I'm going to give you some stuff in the second half of this that is really word for word my close that I've used in my talks to really double my closing percentage. So you're really going to like that. It's something you're going to be able to take from this and use right away, whether you do anything with us or not. We're going to give you some information that could really make a huge difference in your practice. So, and I know it will if you implement it. So, first of all, just real quick, who am I? My name is Dr. Scott Gray, chiropractor by trade. I've scaled three practices up to seven figures, a couple businesses to eight figures. Those are the ones that I'm really still a part of and work with. And then sold a business in 2017. But really, I've worked with hundreds of doctors to help them grow their practice, get more patients, educate their patients, and really transform their practice into a machine. So we're going to go through that today. So again, that's what I do, just help docs scale. And a couple disclaimers as we get started. I'm not a guru. I'm just a doctor like you, or maybe you're just not just, but you're an owner of the business or whatever it may be. I've done all those things. And really what we're sharing with you is real world business sales experience. So I don't really see myself as a guru, but just sharing what I've learned. And I don't make any income claims. Obviously, the main reason for that is, I just told you about, our top client that crushes it, does millions every month. I've also got docs who we've given all this stuff to, licensed the material. They've done nothing with it and nothing happens. So I can't make any claims on what someone's going to do and take with my material. But what I can tell you is if you use it, and really implement it and really focus on it, it could change your life and your practice. So, and I have down there that we do daily testing. We're still doing this. We still do marketing for practices. We still work with practices one-on-one and deal with all the objections and the things that they deal with. I've got groups that do 30 talks a week. So we see this stuff all the time. We're always learning new things and passing that down to everyone that we work with. And nothing's magical here, right? It's a system that you can do. It's 1 × 1 = 1. So if you just plug in the numbers, plug in the formula, it works. It's just how it goes. And then really what I've learned from testing millions of dollars of my own money to figure things out, because I've had multiple clinics, as you saw, and I've spent a lot of my own money, and I had to make money back on that. So I had to figure out how it would work and how we could grow those practices. And today's going to be a little bit of a fire hose. We're going to go through a lot of information, so I want to jump right in because really what I want to really help you understand is nuances and the distinctions, as opposed to like a lot more stuff, but just the specific things that you should focus on. So let's go ahead and get cranking on this right now. So what is the problem? What do docs typically come to us saying, this isn't going well in my practice? Typically what we're helping people with is if, they're getting a lot of leads, but they don't convert, right? They don't feel like they're good quality leads, or they're putting out content, it's not turning into patients. Really, I want to get into how that happens, because most docs don't have the right system set up behind it, where, some docs that are really good at conversion, we can get them leads, they're good to go. But so many have never really been taught and shown how to nurture a lead, get them in, get them to convert, educate, and all that. So we're going to show you how you can make all your leads way more valuable. We're also going to talk about no time. I've had multiple practices where I've had some where I'm owner, and I've had some where I am the doctor, right? So I've had a chiropractic practice where I was treating 300 patients a week, and I know what it's like to have no time. Getting there at 6 or 7 in the morning to finish up stuff from the day before, get the staff ready for that day. Then you treat patients all day, and maybe you're doing a talk at night, and it ends up being a 12, 14-hour day. This system is what allowed me to break free from that. And you'll see that here in a minute. But I want to help you get your time back so that you can, work a certain amount of time, but also enjoy the rest of your time and not have to work all the time. And consistently flow. Most people will a lot of times start with a marketing company, and their leads start to go up. They start to get a ton of leads, and then it drops off. Or maybe they just have these ebbs and flows. We're going to talk about how that happens. And a lot of folks are just confused about how to set it up. And I'll show you a system that we set up for people, or show people how to set up in their practice, so that you know what needs to be set up. Like once that lead comes in, what needs to happen. All right. Now, once that's done, what needs to happen? Just show you that exact layout, because you may be missing a piece in there, and you'll see exactly where that is and what you can do about it. And again, just having no system, just really not having this thing down to where, maybe you're good at getting the lead. Maybe you're good at getting people in, but you can't convert them. Or maybe you convert them and then you've got refunds or different things. So we're going to talk about what that system looks like. So I'm just going to start with one of my early mentors, Dan Kennedy. He taught people how to do sales and marketing and that type of thing. And he always said that the marketer who educates the market owns the market. If you control the education, you control the buying criteria. And so what most people are missing is they're trying to get leads, and they're just trying to compete with everyone else on the same level that everyone else is, as opposed to becoming the educator, becoming the thought leader in that area, so that you become the trusted source and you're the one that everyone goes to. So really what I did is I studied Dan for years, and I'm kind of giving you the shortcut. I've took all his stuff and a lot of other people as well, and put it into a regenerative practices that do, stem cell, functional medicine, all those things. So you don't have to go study all that. I'm just going to give it to you the way that you need it. So first of all, how do we get a cash influx in our practice? How do we, change the way that our practice is moving? And really, it starts with the mindset shift. And you can see there in the picture on the left that, look, a lot of people have a scarcity mindset, or a poverty mindset that we call it. And it might not even be the doctor. It might be people in the office. So maybe you, as the doctor, have big goals. You feel like people have the money or they'll find the money, but there's people in your office that are, prejudging people and saying like, oh, there's no way they're going to have money. There's no way they're going to be able to sign up. And this mindset shift is huge because everything that happens in your office is going to come from the top down. It's going to come from what you think and expect of people, down to the staff and then down to your patients. And so many times, like I just, one of the docs I had started working with, he's having a really hard time. How do I ask for that much money for this treatment? Right? He doesn't believe in the value of what he's giving. If you don't believe that, you know, if you're charging, let's say $5,000 for this treatment, do you believe that they're getting a deal? That, you could charge 10,000 or 15,000, but $5,000 is a deal. These mindset shifts sound like a little thing, but these are all the nuances that make such a difference in your practice. So it starts there. Until you address that and have a paradigm shift in your mind or your team, that will never change. Then the next thing is, having a big enough goal. Many docs that I've talked to, when we start talking, it's kind of like, hey, we don't we don't have that many people in our town, or our town's burnt out, or everyone here wants to use insurance, and they've got like these small goals. And again, that starts with mindset. Those are a lot of things you got to overcome. But then they think that like, oh, how could we have a big practice? How could we do, even $1 million a year, right? Does it seem like you can't get there? But when I say moonshot goal, a lot of people think like, oh, big goal. It's not just a big goal. A moonshot goal is really all about, uh, you know,
Clear scheme is
setting
possible.
something that is so big that you don't know how to get there, right? It's like when JFK set the moonshot goal of the United States to reach the moon by this date, no matter what, we're going to make it happen. The
Doctor
big
should check your
part
blood
about
pressures
that
and
is the
TB.
fact
Show
that
your doctor
they
your
did not
infection
know
flu-like
how they
symptoms.
were going to do it. They had no idea how they were going to get there, but they still set the goal. So you should have goals that are so big that you don't know, like at the end of the year, maybe it's, I want to double my new patients this year. And you're thinking, I have no clue how I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do that. I'm going to make sure that I double my new patients. So, do you have a moonshot? Do you have a goal in your practice that's so big that you don't know how you're going to get there? And it's got to start there. It's got to start to where you're really shooting for big things, because your team is only going to really get excited about big goals. People don't typically get excited for small goals. They get excited for big goals. And we've got to do that as the leaders in our business. And then the last part is leverage curve thinking. Leverage curve thinking is all about, we know about the Pareto principle of the 80-20, and everyone talks about it, but not a lot of people practice it. So we know that 20% of what we do creates 80% of our results. The big question is, though, what is that 20%? What should I be focusing on every day that's going to make the big difference? And then inside that 20%, there's another 20%. Then inside that 20%, there's another 20%. And it breaks down to about 1 to 2% of what you do creates about around 51% of your results. So if you think about that, if you're focusing on all the leverage curve activities, the things that are really going to move the needle, which typically in a practice starts with sales and marketing, because you don't get bigger revenue by getting less people, talking to less people. So okay, how do I do that? How do I get in front of more people? How do I close more people? And how do I start to grow this thing? So we need to start thinking about leverage curve and what are the important things that are going to help you get to that moonshot goal. And not a lot of docs that we talk to in offices that we work with, they want to have like every T crossed, every I dotted before they start. And you can't do that. What happens with leverage curve thinking is that a lot of things don't get done that you think are important, but you just kind of have to let them go because you'll eventually get to them. You can't do operations before sales. You got to figure out how to grow your practice, do sales, and use leverage curve thinking. So, and that starts with a perfect presentation. A perfect presentation is the ultimate leverage tool. So, my best example of this is the George Foreman grill. Everyone knows about the George Foreman grill. Well, how was that sold? That was sold through an infomercial AKA a perfect presentation. But what we have to realize is that the grill itself did not sell itself. When they first started, it was a huge failure, and a lot of people don't know that. When they first started, they advertised it as Rick Cesari, who did the infomercial. He said that what they were doing is they're focused on, all of his knockouts, and he was heavyweight champ of the world and all these things. But what they started to realize is the people that are buying the George Foreman grill are not heavyweight boxers. It's not people that even care about that. It's people that are cooking at home. They care about how it's going to function in their kitchen and what kind of things they can make with it. And they found that the more he cooked and the more bites he took, the sales went up. And so they started tweaking the presentation and got it to a point where they literally sold 120 million grills. Now that is ultimate leverage. Now, if they would have focused on, anything but that presentation, getting that thing perfect, they never would have hit that goal. That's the leverage curve. So they put all their time and effort to make sure that thing could sell. And then once they did that, now they're boosting ad spend. Now they're getting in front of more people. Now they're trying to get that infomercial going 24/7 because now they've got this huge leverage piece. So you've got to have these huge leverage pieces in your practice that you know that the more people I get in front of is going to turn into more patients and more revenue. That starts with the perfect presentation. The next is A++ team alignment. And I talk about this a lot of having A++ players, having people that are all on board with what you're doing. Because if any of your team, if you're going and doing these talks and getting people coming in, but your team doesn't believe in your product, or maybe they're just negative and they're saying, I don't want to implement this new thing in my practice, in our practice. I don't want, I think we charge too much for this service. I could never afford that service. There's so many things that can go through their head that could literally sabotage everything that you've built and getting this marketing and advertising and presentation. You've done all this leverage, all for it to come crashing down in the office. So you've got to get that A++ team alignment and make sure your team's on board. And really the way that you know this is, look, people can disagree with you. A++ people are going to disagree with you. They're going to have opinions because they're smart people. You've got people on your team that have good ideas. Sometimes you'll use their ideas, but sometimes you know that you've got to go a different direction. And when you share that with them, they say, hey, that's great. I thought this would be a better way, but I trust you and I'm going to go 110% on this way. And, I'm going to trust that this is going to work. And they're going to go all in on board with you to make sure that it works. So if you don't have that team alignment, that's going to be a key to make sure all this leverage that you put on the front end becomes a success. And the next thing is a proven marketing strategy. And so I'll show you that here in a second. And that is really just from the time the lead comes in all the way through, what does that full system look like and what does that strategy look like? So you know each step of where they're going and what you need to do next and making sure you don't miss any, because if you miss one of them, it literally can stop the whole process. And so we could say hey, I did all this marketing and advertising, but it didn't really do anything for my practice. Well, something was broken in there that they didn't get all the way through. So we're going to look at what those are. So how can I help you get results the quickest? I'm going to take you through my 3 steps of freedom. That's really the big 3. This is the leverage points that I want to talk to you about. I've kind of touched on them, but now I want to kind of go into a little bit more detail about why we use these as the leverage points and why it's so important, because I want to help you get that free time and get out of those, 10, 12, 14-hour days like I did as well back in the day when I was starting this and didn't know anything about this. So, all right, how can we do this without stress? First of all, I'm going to teach you all this stuff, and you guys have every right to take what I teach you today and go execute it on your own, or we can help do it for you. And so obviously that's what we do for doctors, is help them implement this in their practice, mentor them through the process. So, each week we're on calls and we're going through exactly what they need to do to implement it. And what we want to do is really work with docs that are qualified, docs that like to do marketing, like to do advertising, want to grow their practice. They're implementers. We want people that take action. One of my favorite, not mentors, but business people is Walt Disney. And always said, you've got to stop talking and start doing. So many people just talk about they want to do this, want to do that. It's like, just stop talking and just start doing stuff, start taking action. And that's the kind of people we want. so we can get people quick results. So what are the 3 steps of freedom? Step 1, we're talking about that perfect presentation, the webinar, the lunch and learn, whatever way you want to do it. It's getting that perfect presentation in place so that you're starting to get in front of as many people as possible. So why does this work so well? First of all, it's speed to trust. When you educate someone, you become the leader, you become the thought leader, and you become the one that it's like they know what they're talking about. They've explained this better than anyone else. And if you go through the perfect presentation like we talk about, you get them emotional and kind of get them through this roller coaster to where they really start to connect with you. And here's the other thing. As you do your presentation, it's going to be you. It's going to be your personality. So some people aren't going to connect with you, but that's fine. You're only going to attract as much as you're willing to repel. So you just have to be you, and the people that know, like, and trust you, they are going to really connect with you. But you've got to be that thought leader and that person up in front, educating and saying how this whole process works. And then they become pre-educated, right? They're not coming in with all kinds of questions and objections. They're really just coming in to see if they qualify. So by the time you're done with your presentation, they need to be saying, oh my gosh, I hope I can do this. That's the whole goal of the presentation. The presentation is not to get them to book a consult and then go spend 2 hours with them. It's to get them to say, hey, do an exam on me and find out if I qualify for this thing. I really want to do this. Okay. And then again, that becomes that emotional buyer. They get to that emotional level to where they want to do it. They're not coming in with questions and objections. They're coming in with desire to start and hoping that you will actually let them qualify because you've hit all the emotional things and they want to get back to those things in life. They don't want to lose their mobility and their freedom. And there's a lot more to why they want to do this than just to get out of pain. Okay. If they're just doing it to get out of pain, you're fighting a losing battle. It's way more deep than that. And then we love doing the paid consultation. So the reason we do this is, I've learned this a long time ago that when you charge somebody up front to come to your practice or really into any business, once they give you money, even if it's $1, it changes the psychology. It goes from someone that's just trying to feel you out and get something for free versus someone that's actually invested, willing to get their credit card out, willing to get their wallet out and pay for it. That is a totally different prospect, and it'll change your closing results as well. So why many selling doesn't work? Well, there are a lot of mistakes you can make along the way in doing this. Believe me, I've made a million of them, but here's some you want to avoid. So this is a picture of me 20 years ago or so doing talks. One of the things that I always did before every talk was go around and got to know the audience. You want to be able to start your talk where you're friends with the audience already. You're going around, you're talking to them, you're finding something in common, whether it's, where they work at, where they're from, what they like to do in their free time, what sports teams they like, whatever it may be, you're just connecting with each person. And so many doctors are, well, I'll tell you this, I'm an introvert by just who God made me, okay? I'm not one, like at a party, I'm typically gonna be the guy that I'll sit over in the corner to myself and not talk to anybody. And so this was really hard for me. And it would have been really easy for me to not go around and talk to these folks and get to know them. For some people, it's super fun, but for some of us, it's hard. But if you want the result, you've got to do this. You've got to go around and get to know the people before you start, or else your presentations will not work as well. Your closing percentage will not be as good as it could be. And then the next thing is lecturing as a doctor about science and research. So one of my early mentors, when he saw some of my talks, he really slammed me on this, is that, I wanted to be like the guy that explained how, the Krebs cycle worked, or how, proprioception works in the body and why an adjustment works or why this works. Nobody wants to know that. Nobody wants to hear that. And the more you talk about science and treatments and that type of thing, the less people are going to sign up. So the perfect presentation, yes, touches on those things enough for them to get the logic to buy, but it's more of an emotional roller coaster to get them to want to do the treatment with you. So, and the last thing there's poverty mindset. Obviously, if you're going into this thinking, oh, no one's going to pay, these people can't afford this. These aren't going to be good leads. I mean, just the inner voice that we tell ourselves when we go and do whether it's a talk or consultation, it's like all that stuff starts coming in like, oh, it's going to be too expensive. They're not going to have the money. Their spouse isn't going to want to do it. All that mindset stuff are the things that are going to hold you back, and it's going to just cripple you in being able to do your talk. So you've got to be able to go in there and do, I really do mind exercises myself. That's part of the things that we teach is things that you do in your head so that you can go into this. So you're having fun, you're having excitement, you're not worried about money. You know there's value there. You know people are going to sign up and you're going to have a good time. So that is a huge deterrent. Again, I was talking about one of the docs starting with us. He's having a little bit of trouble with this, and he recognizes it, and he's fighting it, and he's trying to go through mind scripts right now to get past this. And well, actually, I said the last thing before, but I forgot the close is actually what we're going to be talking about today. And I'm going to show you my close that I do. And when I say that, a lot of people say like, "Oh, I do a close, I do an offer, and then I give them a discount to sign up, and if they come in the next few days." Yes, you want to do all those things, but after you do that offer, you need to take them through a close that gets them excited to sign up and excited to take action and stop talking and start doing. And I'm going to show that to you today so you guys can do that and just add it to whatever you're already doing. So, in the 3 steps to freedom, the next thing is all about scheduling, filling the event. We've spent a ton on ads. We know what works, what doesn't. We've done everything from mailers to Facebook to Instagram, you name it. But we want to give everyone the shortcut and just say, this is what works. This is how this company did 3 million last month. This is how this guy does 1 million a year. We know that it's just kind of a plug and play that we do. So Ed, do you want to talk a little bit about the ads and how we set this up?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, can you hear me, Scott?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, great, fantastic. Can you go back to the last slide real
I
quick?
will. Yep.
So we have a whole system on refining and testing the ads in your area. And what's very cool about working like directly with Scott, or I mean, you take inspiration from these obviously as well, is you'll see that the images. Well, first of all, is everyone liking this so far? Isn't Scott amazing? I mean, it's great to have a refreshing perspective on how to grow your practice and clinic. And the one thing I would say is that when we bring up team members and people buying in, one of the biggest things I think that's super important is that when you master or even learn, I mean, even if you do this poorly the first time or second time or third time, it eliminates every minute that you have somebody doing a one-to-many presentation. It eliminates the need to be perfect on the backside with case presentation and closing because all that's getting done on the front side. So I like saying that. Now you'll notice that all the ads that we run we're testing them. They're different. We have, I mean, dozens and dozens of proven ads. And what's super important, if you guys have tried Facebook ads or Instagram ads before, a lot of people are like, oh, well, my ad sucked or it didn't work, or the agencies you spend money. Everyone's done that. Most terms like with agencies are 4-letter words anyway. But the fact of the matter is because they're running a different business than what you're running. And we are constantly testing because things are constantly evolving, especially with the AI stuff, which we'll get into hopefully near the end of this. So stick with us. Scott, go to the next one real quick, please.
Yep.
So what you're going to see is actually in your area, when we look at an area of a clinic, an office, this is inside Facebook. It tells us how many hundreds of thousands or how many tens of thousands of people are within a certain mile radius. And that's in your area right now. And I always like to point this out because a lot of times when people have tried things, and I always say tried because it's not what we do, it's something else, the easy conclusion is to be like, well, there's just not wealthy patients in my area. There's not people that are happy to pay cash. And I mean, Scott has how many states have you tested this in, Scott? I want to say 44 or 48.
Yeah. I mean, I would say
40.
probably 48, if not
Yeah,
all of them.
there's
Yeah.
a few just for legal restrictions, whatever, that you can't promote this stem cells in. But the thing is it works. People are people with pain, and the best thing about people in pain is that they have pain in every vacations, summers, winters, everything. People right now are in your area and they have no clue who you are. You are invisible to them. They are desperately seeking a solution. And because you are not being ever present in their Facebook feed, Instagram feed, and I'm not talking about just posting content, we're talking about strategically using micro budgets that everyone on this call can afford. If you can afford a computer, yeah, you can afford this. Okay. The fact of the matter is they're looking for you to solve their problem. And a mentor of mine said to me a long time ago, Scott, you can go to the next slide. You're being selfish because you're not promoting yourself. And that really struck me because I'm a father of seven, grew up in a big family, blue collar on the south side of Chicago. The one thing we're not is selfish. And I was like, I'm not being selfish. Like, well, then it's your number one job obligation in life to make sure that the people who are in pain, who you can best help, who you can best support, know who you are and make that case. Otherwise, this is very important to understand. Someone less qualified, someone less able to help them is going to be the person that they go to because they just don't know any better. Okay. So now we have a really simple formula, right? The super simple formula simplifies everything you end up doing. One target market with pain, one proven message, and then one proven process. So the message in this case is the presentation, whether it's in person or it's actually over Zoom like you're on right now. What it does is it eliminates the need for you to be doing like free consults because, as Scott will show you, they don't do free consults. They have people actually pay for their appointment when they come in. And you may say, like, well, Ed, we already make people pay. Yeah, but you're missing out on a large quantity of people that would come to a free virtual workshop or in person that then pay, and they're just qualifying themselves. They're building emotional propensity to buy. And most importantly, this is worth writing down. You guys ready to write this down? You're sending the people that are not qualified, you're filtering them out from ever calling your office, entering your office, and spending and wasting time inside your practice. Not because they're bad people, because they're unqualified and they're not interested in what you're providing. Scott, you can go to the next one, buddy.
Yep.
And so there was one other thing that it didn't make it on the slides, but the one thing I always ask people is if you do this, you're just going to completely eliminate yourself from everybody because this we're just kind of going over the main core three elements. But when you add AI into this and you add what I call ethical propaganda, which for like dollars a day, you could be in the news feed of the people that are most interested and most likely to buy. I always challenge people. I say, like, like everyone wants to ask the question of, well, what is it going to cost me? What's the investment? I always like hitting that and saying, like, before you can make a decision on advertising, you should just ask yourself, like, what am I willing to spend to get a patient? And Scott, like, give me a range of our average new patient that comes in on a weekly basis looking for stem cells. Like, what do we like say is the average? I know there's like 12.5, 13,000, but I know it can go down to like 5,500.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, like your average office is probably like 7,000
Okay,
average.
7 grand. But you might have one that comes in at 30K and then one that comes in at so the question you got to ask yourself when you're like, well, I got all these questions is no, no, no. Keep it super simple with math. Is what am I willing to spend? And if you're like, well, I'll spend $1,000, I'll spend $1,500 to make 5K net or whatever that might look like. That then gives you like the barometer and thermometer at which allows you now to see the filter, like make really good decisions because most people, I'm telling you this now, most people, we were just on a call this morning with a really great doc, successful doc, and he's like talking about, well, I'm already spending some money on, I'm like, bro, you're going to be getting easily one new stem cell case a month, easily, with just fixing a couple things, let alone if you spent $1,000, what if you get two or three more in? What is that worth to you? He was looking at the wrong side of the equation. And so I always like bringing this up early when we talk about generating leads, bringing patients in, generating referrals, because every one that comes in multiplies to 2 to 3 when done properly. Okay. I think I'm going heading back to you there, Scott.
Okay, appreciate it, man. But yeah, like the whole goal with this is really to have that blue ocean, right? So we're not in that red water where all the other competition and sharks are. Set you apart, set you as the thought leader so that you're not competing against them. You're just qualifying or disqualifying patients as they come through. So in this three steps of freedom, the third part is a proven presentation that closes and gets paid consults. So anyone can spend your money to buy leads. Like you've probably done it a million times, and a lot of people can fill rooms to, get as many people as they'll pay the money to get people to show up. But if everything fails and you don't have a presentation that converts, it's like it's all for naught, right? I don't care if I can fill a room, get leads, but if I don't have something that converts them, then there's no point in doing it in the first place, right? So again, I'm talking about leverage point. Leverage point is having that presentation that converts. You got that, now you can start pushing people through it. So you can see these are just some examples of some of our slides here, but the biggest mistakes doctors and salespeople make, just teaching too much, like I talked about, talking about science, talking about FDA, talking about this and that. It just kills the presentation. Your job is to close, and what does that mean? That means agitate their pain, show a solution, right? We all know the problem, agitate, solve. That's how every commercial is lined up. If you just look at it, there's a formula behind it, but the thing that most people don't do is what they'll do is they'll talk about the problem and they'll talk about their solution and why they're the best and everyone else sucks. And then you get to the end and they're just kind of like, all right, well, you told me how awesome you are and you told me a bunch of science, but I'm not really knowing what you're talking about here. So if the presentation doesn't do the right job to agitate the pain and get them emotional, you're not going to get the closes. And not creating the enemy, right? The enemy really is every other option that's out there. So you have to do it you've got to discredit everything else that they're going to try. They can't leave there saying, I'll just keep doing cortisone. I'll just do the surgery. I'll just go and do this. I'll just keep taking Advil. They can't be saying those things. And so how are you changing their mind through the talk to where they come up with the solution that those things don't work and what you do does work? And because you can't tell them that it's not going to work. You can't say, cortisone's really bad, you should stop doing it, right? You've got to tell stories and do it in a way that they come up with, they're like, I got to stop doing cortisone, right? So it's all in how you present it, right? It's perception is reality and the perception that you can create. So masking pain, putting it off causes more damage. A lot of people they talk more about pleasure, right? We know the difference between pain and pleasure. People do more to get out of pain. And if you're not making it super painful in the sense that just talk about the reality of letting these things go, talk about how bad it can get and how quick it can happen, those types of things. A lot of people don't do that because they feel like, I don't know, it just doesn't sit well with them and whatnot, but you've got to explain the reality of these diseases and what it's going to do for them if they don't do anything. And then I always say this, and a lot of docs, I think, give me a weird look when I say this, but I say if you're not practicing your presentation like the Super Bowl, if this is literally the biggest leverage point in your office, where all the money you spend on marketing and advertising, as people come through, if they're not getting that educational part, all of a sudden it's like, okay, got 100 leads, I don't do any education, or I do a presentation, I do a sucky job, I'm nervous, I haven't studied it, so I'm stumbling through the lines, I don't look like I know what I'm talking about. And you might know what you're talking about, but you don't look like it because you haven't practiced it. And then all of a sudden, those leads, you might book 2 people now out of those 100 leads, where if you get 100 leads and you worked your butt off to be awesome at that presentation, now you're getting 5, 10 people from that presentation. I know I just keep saying this, but it is the biggest leverage point. Everything stops if you don't get that presentation down and get it down right. So here's my presentation distilled into 60 seconds. This is what I'm doing in the presentation. I'm calling out who it's for and who it's not for. I'm letting them know that if you're dealing with these things specifically, you're in the right place at the right time. If you're looking at it this way, it's not for you. Why? Is it different than everything else that they've ever tried? What I say? We've got to discredit everything else through different stories and things that we tell, and it's set up that way to show them that, oh, this is totally different than everything else on the market. Agitating the problem like we talked about, making sure it is a painful thing, that the longer they let this go, every single day, every single second they let this thing go, it's getting worse and worse. And why continue down this path if we know where it's going to lead, right? The next thing, we let them off the hook. We let them know it's not their fault. One of the ways that doctors can come across is if they're too hard on a medication or surgery or whatever they are, what you're doing is you're slamming that. And in doing that, you're basically saying, like, you know, you don't know the right way to do this, right? And what we're saying is, like, it's not your fault. Every doctor with Western medicine is forcing you down this path, but we're here to open up your eyes and show you a different way. So now you can make a different decision. Let them know that the only reason you're in this pain is because you've been led this way, and we're going to help lead you a different direction. And obviously attack the enemy. And when I say the enemy, it's not a person, it's just every other option out there, making sure that their paradigm is they want to do regenerative medicine, they want to do natural medicine, and not anything else. And laying out the opportunity, how it's going to help, lay out exactly what the next steps are for them to take to see how this can help them, and showing proof. Obviously, you're using testimonials, you're using different stories to show that proof, because there's nothing that can win. There's a book by a trial lawyer, Jerry Spence. He said, nothing can beat a preponderance of proof. The more proof you have, people just can't deny it. So you have to show up with the preponderance of proof. And last, overcome financial objections before they come up. So we've got it lined into we don't want someone to raise their hand in the talk and say, how much does this cost? Is this expensive? We negate that with the way that the presentation is designed, so that a lot of people don't realize that if you bring up money, then it's not an objection. You're explaining why it costs so much and why it's so much better than everything else, as opposed to trying to defend why it's so expensive, right? And it may be expensive to some, maybe super cheap to others, but that's just a mindset. But you've got to overcome that financial objection before they do, so that it's not an objection. So that's in there. And obviously segue into the close. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is the close that I do. So this close that I added to my talks back probably 15 years ago totally changed my results. I built all my practices using dinner talks or lunch and learns or webinars. I started, adding in the online webinar when that became a thing. Really back in probably 2012, I really got into that, and that's when I started doing those. But this is the process we take people through. And this was kind of my process for my dinner workshop model of me growing a practice. When I went to start a practice, this was my plan, okay? And so it's just targeting the right customer. Who's it for, right? Picking the right media, and obviously testing ads, optimizing, working through the ads, and always changing them, because a lot of people have that up and down, that ebb and flow, and it's because they'll start using ads and they start to work real great, then they don't change them. And one of the biggest things with, Meta, Facebook, they want new stuff. They don't want the same images. Your stuff isn't going to be shown. So that's a problem people have. But as you go through, we're retargeting and following up. Ed talked about the ethical propaganda. For just dollars a day, you can be in front of people answering every objection for them, and becoming the thought leader in your area. And it looks like you've got the biggest practice in your community. And again, that's super cheap to do. Calling, texting, emailing, right? So what are we doing to market and, create a relationship with our patients and do things with them, so that it doesn't feel like every time you reach out, you're sending out an offer. You're sending them great information. You stay top of mind. You get referrals. When they get hurt, you're the one they're calling. This is all part of it. Giving them that ultimate experience, whether it's in the seminar or scheduling skills, the experience in the office, handling those objections like I talked about, doing that before they come up. And then obviously the perfect presentation is key. That's our big leverage point there. We're going to get into the close right now. So when you do a perfect presentation, this close can take that and take you from 30 to 60% close rate, which is what it did for me. And that's why I use that number. And then obviously you have to have the right mindset with the doctor and staff. Doing a 180-degree consult, and that's really a disqualification consult where they're, just basically hoping that you're going to accept them into care. Then money mastery and fulfilling, obviously, in the office, so that they get the results that you want. So My close that I do actually came from something I heard from Dan Kennedy, and I'm talking about him a good amount in here, but this was just something I heard one time, and I said, I think I could change this for healthcare. I think I could take this close and make it one for healthcare. So I want to play it for you right now. This is one that he used to do to close large stadiums that he would go to, like the Zig Ziglar type big events, success events. And he would close with this. I'll play it for you. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through it line for line, kind of talk about the psychology of it, but give it to you so that you can use it yourself at the end of your talks and have more closes if you're already doing talks. So let's listen to Dan give his close first.
I wanted to end this tape by sharing one of my favorite quotes. It's from the classic book, As a Man Thinketh, by James Allen. Men are anxious to improve their circumstances, but are unwilling to improve themselves. They therefore remain bound. That describes most people, including most of your competitors. They all complain about certain parts of their businesses and wish for more income, better clients, easier means of attracting customers, but they are unwilling to learn new and different skills and methods for creating those desired changes. There's the old adage that the definition of insanity is continuing to do the same things the same way, but hoping for different results. My methods literally revolutionize businesses and quickly make business people much more skilled, effective, innovative, competitive, and efficient marketers. If you are already thoroughly and completely happy with the way your business or sales career serves you, with your earnings, with the flow of customers coming to you, with the ease at which you obtain new business, if you are perfectly content with your business, then you should feel free to ignore everything you heard on this tape, as well as the 60-day trial offer, the opportunity to test drive my methods without risk. If you are so content, though, I have to wonder why you listened all the way to this point. So if you are not completely happy and would like to improve some aspect of your business or sales career, your income, and how hard you work to get it, then I urge you not to come all this way, right up to the point of decision, only to turn you back on this guaranteed opportunity. I cannot be fairer in inviting you to try me out free of risk. And I remind you, things don't change unless you change things. My tools can equip you to create whatever change you like in your business. After 20 years of coaching business owners and salespeople in these transformational strategies, I can assure you that you are working too hard to make your living without this information. I hope you'll take action on the impulse to improve your business, income, and life.
All right, so that's Dan's close right there. And again, this took me from 30% to 60%. And I'm going to go through it right now that you can use verbatim and just switch out, the type of therapy that you're doing. So here's the structure and psychology behind every line and how you can do this. Okay, so think about this. So he just ended and he said, "Hey, my program's $1,500, right? At the seminar." Now he goes through this whole thing to get you to want to sign up. Most people just end it with the offer and they don't get you excited to sign up. So that's what we're doing here. So first of all, he starts with a quote from a book. And, and again, I did not ask Dan why he did this. I'm telling you the psychology that I believe is behind it. It's third-party social proof, right? This is somebody else is saying this, so it's something that's been accepted over time. I mean, this is the same thing as us showing someone an X-ray and saying, "Look, your back has problems," or showing them an MRI and saying, "Look, there's a problem, we've got to fix that," right? This is that third-party proof so that when you share third-party proof, it's just accepted. There's no resistance to it. So I use the exact same line that he did. So I'd like to close tonight with a quote from a classic and one of my favorite books, As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. That's why we say that. Again, this is one of those things where a lot of doctors that I've taught this to say, I've never read that book. I'm not going to do that. It's like, no, like there's a point to every single line in this. So go read the book and then say it, right? It's a super thin book. You can read in a half an hour. It's a great book. So anyway, I just want to point that out so that you don't start thinking like, I'm not going to do that part. When I saw what Dan was doing, I figured out the psychology of every part and decided what needed to be there. So people who don't change will always suffer and stay where they are. How do we do that? Well, he says, men are anxious, and again, this is coming from the book, not from me. Men are anxious to improve their circumstances, but are unwilling to improve themselves. They therefore remain bound, right? So now what we're doing is we're showing them that people want stuff to change, but they don't do anything, so nothing changes, right? So we're starting to challenge them and say, like, if you don't do something different, nothing's going to change, right? So now we're saying, again, remember how he said, I wanted to tell them it's not their fault? That's what this is. This describes most people. Many people you probably know that complain about their health. They complain about their back pain and knee pain, but they keep doing the same stuff over and over again, and they want it to be different, right? And like, that's just crazy. And so they're starting to think like, yeah, I can't keep doing the same thing over and over again, right? You're starting to get them to think that. And then wishing doesn't work, right? That's how you stay in the past. They wish for better health, less pain, more mobility, but they're unwilling to try and use new techniques and therapies that are available to create that desired change. Well, guess what, guys? What do? We offer a new and different therapy. Just makes sense, right? The next thing, let's use a familiar saying that they believe that creates that rapport and believability. And when I do this, I actually start this, and I know the end of it. I've got the whole thing scripted. But what I do is I say, there's that old adage, I think Einstein said it. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, but and then everyone will say like, oh, expecting different results. Yes, expecting different results. Exactly, right? Nothing's going to change if we don't change anything, right? So kind of get them going back and forth and talking. And I will just point out a side note real quick. None of this is on the screen. I'm just saying this. I'm not going through slides as I do this close. I'm just conversing with them. So, inserting what we do, and it's all about the therapy, not us. So we make it all about the treatment. Umbilical tissue allografts and mesenchymal stem cells, they're revolutionizing medicine, changing the lives of millions of people around the world, just like you. Okay, so we talk about the therapy, but then what we're doing is you're going to have skeptics in the audience. You may have a lot of them, you may have a few of them, but they will be there. And what you need to do is you need to make it known that you don't want anyone in your office that's not serious about this. You don't want anyone in your office that isn't going to qualify for this. So we say, look, if you're already thoroughly and completely happy with your health, the way medicine has served you, with your results and your mobility, then feel free to ignore this offer tonight to meet with one of our doctors. Or, feel free to ignore everything you've heard tonight. This isn't for everyone. If you get up with no aches or pains, you feel great, like you can go for hours and your knees don't hurt you, then please ignore this, right? So we're pushing away anyone that this wouldn't qualify. But then we say, but if you're so content, I'd have to wonder why you made the effort to come out here tonight. Or if they're on a call, you can say, if you're so content, I'd wonder why you've made it all the way through and are still watching right now. Okay, so now that we know you're not content, we're going to say, so if you aren't content and you'd like to improve some aspect of your health, your quality of life for years to come, then I urge you, don't come all the way up to right now, this point of decision, only to turn your back on this opportunity, right? So it's like, again, you're challenging them. We said losers don't do anything. Losers expect stuff to change without changing what you're doing. There's new therapies available. Don't use ours if you feel great. But if you're hurting, this is something that definitely may be able to help you. And you're at that point now where let's just find out if this works for you. So it makes it super simple, takes risk away, right? So, and we eliminate that risk. If it's right for you, then you're just risking giving a $40 donation to a great organization that helps children. Now, the reason we did that, we started having them pay the $40 because we wanted them to pay, but we used it as a fundraiser for Make-A-Wish Foundation. So we would donate every quarter money from all of our seminars to Make-A-Wish Foundation. So you can do that, or you can keep it for your office. It doesn't matter, but we want to take away risk from people when they're signing up. And then the last thing here, personal responsibility on them. I'll remind you, things don't change unless you change things, right? Tissue allograft procedures have the power to create whatever change you want in your health and your life more than anything available today. You know, we're saying how much we love what we're doing and how we get to see lives change. After over 15 years of treating patients, I've never seen anything this powerful, this natural, this safe, and this effective, right? You're just sharing your excitement. This is literally the pinnacle of my calling and my practice, taking the power that made the body as the power to heal the body. And I can assure you, you're working too hard to get the results that you desire. And so what we're doing now is we're saying, actually, the solution to your problem is way more simple than your doctor's been making it, right? It's not, take medicine for, 10 years, do physical therapy, do stronger medication, get surgery. Like that's not the path. The path to health is super simple, and we're going to show that to you. And then the last thing, I hope, not total last thing yet, but I hope you'll take action tonight on the impulse to improve your quality of life, your energy, your independence, your opportunity to give of yourself to others. And the reason I have all these things in here, people want quality of life. They want to be able to travel. They want to be able to golf. They want energy. People are worn out. The pain is wearing them out. Independence. People are losing their ability to get around. They have to have people help them. And then the last one, a lot of people, they find meaning in life by giving to others, whether that's volunteering at church or at the hospital or whatever it is. They can't give of themselves to others or even to their family. So I'm hitting on specific reasons why people do things in their head, and it's different for everyone. So that's why we cover all of those different areas there. And so then I do a callback, because I've kind of been talking about, through our presentation, we talk about the power that made the body is the power that heals the body. And so we say, if you too believe that the power that made the body is the power that can heal the body, that it's better to regenerate than to operate, then go ahead and fill out the form right now that you have. Schedule your appointment with Jim. We're super excited to see you in the office. Thank you guys so much for coming out. I really appreciate all your time, your questions, and we look forward to seeing you in the office. And so we just end it right there. And usually if you end it that way, with that kind of tone and like dropping it down, you're going to get a round of applause, but you're going to get people signing up because you've done this. This is way different than getting all the way to your offer and just saying it's $79. Go ahead and sign up if you want to. I hope you can see how this is so much more powerful and why this actually changes closing percentage at a presentation or even online presentations. I use this on my online presentations as well. So we just say they've got our schedule. We've got times carved out tomorrow and the following day with our doctors to meet you. We look forward to speaking to you in our office, right? And then that's when we fill up the schedule, is when we do that. And we've got that person going around, signing people up right there, okay? I'm telling you, if you memorize that and you deliver that at the end of your talks, it will change your closing percentage. It will change your life. It changed my life. It's the best thing I ever did to my presentation, and it was the biggest thing that increased the effectiveness of my biggest leverage point. So what we teach in our program and mentorship and licensing and everything that we do is really amazing when you start to see all these little pieces. And if you just do them right, do them the right way, just kind of copy and paste the formula, you'll see amazing stuff start to happen and people start to sign up for consults. So obviously today we've covered why freedom comes from leverage. I keep saying leverage points. If you're focused on other things and you just want leads, that's not a leverage point, right? There's a lot of things that people focus on that get them crappy results all the time. And our job is to like drive that focus into what really matters in your practice to grow it. One-to-many is the way. You've got to figure it out, whether it's in-person talks, it's online talks. You've got to be able to get your message in front of as many people as possible and become that thought leader and stay in front of them with that ethical propaganda machine. So to start our program, doing what we do, you need a perfect presentation, you need a way to fill your event or your webinar in person, and you need a team trained and aligned. Ultimately, a salesperson who does it all for you. That's the biggest leverage point. I'll tell you, in my office, once I hired somebody to do that, that became the biggest leverage point. So like our guys that do millions each month, that's all leverage through salespeople. That's all leverage through case managers that do all these talks. So when you start thinking about like how big could I get? Well, just you doing everything is one thing. But if you follow our model of how to add people into the program, implement a leverage point, revenue comes in, add that next person, and that's how you get freedom from your practice and really grow it. So that's pretty much it for the content. Ed, do you want to kind of go
Yeah,
over?
well, yeah, we're not done. We're not done. We're not done. We want to
Well,
cover,
there's more, yes,
yeah,
but
how we can actually implement this in your clinic and practice, how what it looks like to work with us. But first of all, let's give a virtual round of applause for Dr. Scott. Pretty amazing, pretty amazing, amazing, amazing. What I would like to do is just clarify a couple things and just make sure that you understand uh, the practice like it's Super Bowl, like could sound like it's him intimidating, or memorizing a close can sound intimidating. One of the little tricks that we'll teach you is like when you get the PowerPoint presentation, you have your notes in a place where no one else can see them. So you literally like right now, Dr. Scott and I are not doing this because we've done this and this is what we do on a daily basis. We're not reading transcripts. However, if I was brand new doing a brand new presentation for the first time, every single slide could be underneath it. So again, you might just this we make it really about as simple as you possibly can. That's number one. Number two is Dr. Scott is not the greatest salesperson in the world. He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, super humble, doesn't want to push anybody to do anything. And yet because he's following his own system that he was forced to develop in order to uh, be able to grow his clinic, he's able to replicate the results, and so can you. So, I want to tell you about how we could support you, and then we're going to open up for questions, and we have the questions that coming in. So I know we have a big crew here, so please stay with us for a few minutes, and I'll fly through this really quickly. So your decision right now. So like you can go out, run your ads, schedule your own either online webinar like you're watching right now, which I absolutely love online. There's different benefits for in person, and Scott can through our training and coaching, we teach those like different distinctions and when to use it, when not to do it. Some of the clinics that we work with definitely are using in person and they're using online. The reason is capacity and time, right? If you're going to reach more people, it's so fast to do that. The other thing I was going to say that Scott brought up that was brilliant was he talked about how these other clinics are scaling through salespeople or reps. That's something we didn't cover a lot. But for some of you, if you're like, if your clinic's cranking, you're cruising along, and you'd rather pay the money to have somebody do it for you, we can show you exactly how to do that. You just follow the same steps Scott did, because that's when he really catapulted and scaled and got his free time freedom back in his life, especially being a busy dad, right? The other thing that's super important is that you could doing it on your own. You know, we're all rugged individuals, right? We all figure out like you got started, you were an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, and I didn't realize my thing went up. You know, you grinded it out, you got your first patient, your second patient, you hired your team, you did all that. Like that requires grit, that requires rugged into like perseverance. The problem with that is that it only gets you like what you got you here is not going to get you to the next level. And so the coaching behind that is like, well, what do you mean by that, Ed? Well, if we want faster results by more people, we need to multiply our testing and get the wisdom faster. And by being part of this group, and Scott, you can go to the next slide, you're going to get compounding wisdom and multiplied testing. So it's really my pleasure to introduce the opportunity that Scott's made available that allows you to get the same licensing, the same systems, and the same assets that has taken years for Dr. Scott to do. Hey, Scott, can you refresh your slides real quick to see if a couple of my notes pop up on that? So
you got it.
number one, number one is you're actually going to get the same eight-figure regenerative marketing system and licensing rights that his best clients have. Like the people that are doing this all throughout the country, and his other clients that we've brought on that are more local, you're going to get that opportunity to like literally just copy paste what has already been shown to work and is proven. Okay. And so what does that mean, Ed? Well, that means that you're going to get his exact PowerPoint, his exact ads, the exact scripts, the emails. What does your team say when we're running events, whether it's virtual or in person? You're going to get that. So It's the closest thing to a franchise, non-franchise that you could possibly ever have. Number two, which is actually one part B, is our micro famous autopilot ethical propaganda and retargeting system. Scott brought this up. This is super important. I guarantee that none of you are doing what I'm about to share with you is that when you have people in your area, they're coming to your website, they're looking at your Google My Business, you're spending money on local search ads, whatever you might be doing to just grow your clinic, direct mail, it doesn't really matter what it is. You're building an invisible audience that is interested, they have this pain window or whatever it might look like, they got referred to you, and the fact that you don't have propaganda, and when I say propaganda, I say it in the most loving way, which means it's the brutal truth that most humble experts don't, or they kind of got to get nudged into doing because it's about bragging in a way that solves problems for people before they meet you. And that is the way to accelerate your word of mouth. That's the way to take cold leads and turn them into hot, warm patients ready to move forward, ready to go because you solve problems before they got to your clinic. Ed, what is a problem that my patient has that I can solve before they ever meet me? Well, they're having a hard time figuring out this best solution to whatever they're dealing with. With stem cells, it could be their shoulder, it could be overall inflammation, it could be their knees, it could be any of those things, post-surgery, it could be any of those things. But they're looking like, what are all the different options on the table? And they don't know enough about stem cells, cost, timelines, all that stuff. We can solve that using little micro 1 minute videos, 3 minute videos, but we don't just post it and hope they find it. We use dollar a day budgets behind those videos, $3 a day. And you just be amazed at how you're going to have people like coming up to you saying, wow, I saw your video. I love it. Blah, blah, blah. You're going to become micro famous. And it's the way to impact more people. Next slide, please, Scott. So, no, so number two. So first of all, if I just stop there, if I just stop right there, we're talking about the small hinge that swings massive doors for your ability to generate revenue, get your freedom back. Okay. But that's not the end of it. So number two, automated one-to-many trust, authority, and sales funnel. And so what that means is that we have like 20 something plus on this call right now. We only had 36 register for this call today. Okay. So how do we get so many people to show up? It's because you probably got 4 text messages or multiple reminders. That is a system. There's no one physically manually going and doing that. That is a system. So if you're running one presentation a week, the same system doesn't change, just the dates do. And so that's pretty magical. And then, yes, you could duplicate it and run it for other things, whether it's metabolism, peptides, other things in your office. There's no question on that as well. But the full system, if you don't use the full system, you're going to be leaving so much money on the table. So that's number two. You're going to get all the text, email, voice broadcast, everything that we do and everything that we're continuing to do. Okay, next one, please. Okay, so number three. So before I tell you the investment in working with Scott, the one thing we're going to tell you right now is that our goal is that you get not only your investment back, but more than that in the first 30 days working with us for the entire year, so that everything you do with us is absolutely free from an investment perspective ongoing. And so that's why number three is you're going to get a training that talks about how to generate 50K in 10 minutes, 10-minute training. And so we're going to show you how to take dormant assets in your practice and clinic. One of them I just told you about, which is your retargeting audience. It's the invisible list that you're not capitalizing on. And so that you can start getting phone calls coming in and patients coming in. Okay. Now, number four. So your high ticket patient conversion system. So this is super important because I know I would imagine that one of the biggest stressors working with doctors for now 20 something years myself is, okay, what's my front desk going to think about this? What's my team going to think about this? And so one of the things that we do and we're going to support you with is how to actually train them and then how to have ongoing support and training for your team so that you have a world-class conversion team. It's very, very important because the worst case is that you do all this work, all this heavy lifting to get a qualified patient into your door, and somebody unknowingly or unintentionally uncloses them. And we all know stories on this. So go ahead, Scott. Next one. Number five, a 12-month marketing calendar. So right now you're missing days and opportunity windows to do promotions to your inactive patient base, your existing patient base, and even your referral, your top referrals. So if I said to you, what's your top 50, top 100 referrals? What are we doing quarterly, monthly to make sure that we're top of mind, top of consciousness? No judgment on it, but a lot of people would probably be like, majority of you would probably be like, number, we're not doing enough at. And so there's no judgment on that. The thing is that with AI, with automations, and with a calendar, you could get a lot of confidence and pre-planning done so that people are always aware of what's available. And just that alone is going to lift, your revenue and straighten up profit because most of you aren't doing that. And a lot of it, and you'll be surprised, a lot of it's so minimally, I was gonna say cost effective, minimal investment, like just text messages and postcards and simple voice broadcasts just to get people coming towards you more effectively. So, number six. Okay, so this is my favorite part. I rave about this the most. I think this is, even if we didn't give you anything, this is the slight edge element and the formula. And like I have 7 kids, like I told you already, but one of the things I teach is the leapfrog theory of success, which is that you have no moral obligation to work your way through the ranks or do this staircase or step ladder of success, that at any given time you can leap to the top of your industry, your niche, and claim it. No one's going to give you permission. No one's going to do it. And so where do we get that at? Well, we borrow permission. We borrow permission. Who do we borrow from? Someone that's already done it. And we borrow the confidence and we borrow the system from them as well. And so access to Dr. Scott, we were just on a client call this morning, and some of his questions, the doctors, were great. They weren't super complicated, but to him, they were a blockage that was preventing his growth. And in seconds, Dr. Scott had, okay, you're going to call this person, we're going to do this. And that, like, it was experiential wisdom coming out. Now, the other thing is our goal is to create a group of absolute regenerative medicine. I want to use the word killers. I guess that would be kind of backwards in something that's supposed to rejuvenate, but like really forward thinking, slight edgers who are looking to take it to the next level, and are super positive, go givers, want to be a part of something. And if you do not fit those criteria, then this is not for you. We don't want you to even apply because we're looking to create a room where you feel like, hey, this is my family away from my family. This is the place that I get better. And one of the hardest things I always like talking about masterminds because, and a right mentor is because like I told you the Michael Phelps story earlier about the right mentor sees around the corner, prevents you from making very costly mistakes. But the right mentor is just somebody who's in your corner when stuff hits the fan, right? The right mentor is the right person who's like, hey, here's the resource over here you're not thinking about. But the crew, the tribe, everybody around you, that iron sharpens iron. What I found both through experience of doing this wrong and when I've done it right is that when I'm not in a tribe, I'm not as good as I could be. If I don't have people that are, say 2 miles ahead of me, whether it's like they're doing more revenue, they're growing faster than me, and then all like I don't have that structural tension to make myself better. So I'd like to just ask you, like, and you don't say this out loud, you don't have to post it, but ask yourself, am I in a group that is making me better? And do I have a mentor that's like, hey, let's push you, right? One of the conversations we had earlier with our client was like, I just said to him flat out, I go, you're thinking totally inaccurately about this, that you should be asking yourself. And I gave him a better question. And I guarantee that guy, because he's successful, multiple clinics, good looking, like, oh, I can tell him, but there's nobody in his life that are like, hey, bro, you're just not thinking accurately about this right now. This is how you need to be thinking. And that's all he needed. Me and Scott are around high level entrepreneurs and I'm around high level athletes all the time. If you're not in that, there's no way that you could be accelerating and growing at the rate that you could possibly grow. And so if it's not with us, I just like to ask you, like, the best gift you can give yourself is make sure that you have a mentor and a tribe that's pushing you to be better. Okay. Number 7. Okay. So what to do now? right there on the screen it's www.regen, REGEN hyphen profits.com/invite. Okay, you're gonna have an opportunity to put down $1,000 to then get on a strategy session with myself and Dr. Scott. And it's really a conversation that is this right for you or is it not? And we're going to be interviewing you at the same time you're interviewing us. The investment into the the regenerative medicine boardroom and alliance that we've created is 2,000 a month. It's just 2,000 a month. Okay. Now, um, is that a lot of money or is that a little money? I'll address that right now. Let's talk about it. So, number one is that 2,000 a month is nothing to sneeze at, but it's enough of an investment to get your attention so that you're actually a part of the group. You're implementing the system. You're ready to take your clinic to the next level. At the same time, every one of you, if I sat down with you with Dr. Scott for a half hour, we could find 10 times that dollar amount in your clinic that you are probably missing out on simply because you don't have it's your eyes. You don't have the third party perspective. Okay. So if 2 grand a month is cost prohibitive, it's not right for you, then this is probably not right for you. Okay. The other thing I would say to you is that if you don't want to add an extra 20, 30 to 100K a month in stem cell and regenerative medicine patients, then this is probably not right for you. Like we're looking for people that want to grow. I've had great clients, and I know Scott's had the same as well, where they just reach a point in their life they don't want to grow. And it's like,
I'd get
okay,
everything
cool.
rolling. Okay.
That's great. Let's just mute Renee there. And if you don't, there's no judgment on that. Like we still like you and appreciate you, but it's not the boardroom and alliance is not the best place for you. Now, but if you do, then the slight edges, this is the best place for you to get this in stem cells, regenerative medicine, hands down. Scott is super humble on this, but like he literally, you guys need to know this. And Scott, you can go to the next one because I have a list of questions that I might forget about. The other thing that you need to know is that there are stem cell companies getting ridiculously wealthy because of the work that Scott did that created this one-to-many system. You know, he was the pioneer in it. It was the thing that took him from one clinic to 8, that took him from working 12 hours a day to gaining his life back. Then he put sales reps in there, and that was just the ultimate game changer. So it's really there's not one problem that he has not experienced uh, that he couldn't help solve with you as well. Now, Scott, you could chime in at any point. I'm just kind of now going to go through some things that I know we get when we talk one-on-one with people, so I want to support you guys on that. Oh, the $1,000. Why'd I say deposit? Is because if either one of us decide that nah, this might not be the best fit for you, we're just going to refund you the $1,000 and be friends. If you are like, yeah, this is exactly what I'm looking for, guys, and then we'd ask you like, okay, what's your goals? What are you trying to do? What's your current blockage? How many active patients are on your database? How many inactive? How do you see us best supporting you? We have that lovely conversation, and you're like, yeah, I'm all in. I want to get started yesterday. Well, then we're just gonna, charge you the next $1,000, and we're gonna get rocking and rolling at 2K a month. And then here's the coolest thing about this is like, I'll go to number 4. Can I cancel? Yeah. After 60 days, it's a love it or leave it. Like you're either like, guys, I love working with you. I'm in, blah, blah, blah. This is great. Or, hey, I kind of just don't really feel it's the right fit for me. We're not going to sit there with some crazy contract saying like, well, listen, bro, you got to stay in the group and you got to use our materials. That's not how we're going to do it. We're not going to keep charging your card. We want an exclusive group of people that want to be there and want to kick ass doing it. Okay. Are we an agency? So here's the deal on this. We are not an agency. So we don't run ads for like 30 people. That's not the business we're in. We're a mentoring, licensing, masterminding, and coaching group. That is our main focus. Now, with that said, here's the deal. Some of you guys might be working with agencies right now. Some of you might not be. So when you decide to run your first webinar or your first lunch and learn or dinner, um, we will help set up and get all the ads set up for you. So we have our own agency that we work with, and so we made a deal with them that when we bring on new clients, that they will get you up live and running for the first month, absolutely free. After that, if you decide to work with them, their fees totally minimal. You can work with them, or you can work with somebody else, or you can keep it in house. We are here to support you on that. Okay, so I just want to answer that. Scott, are you there?
Yep.
Okay, cool, bro. Just I got the screen up. So, is this territory exclusive? Now, here's the thing on this. Everyone wants to know, like, is it territory exclusive? Like, are you only selling? Here's what we found. Okay, and I'm gonna the answer is yes and no. Okay, so it's yes in that if you get to pick two uh clinics or people that you feel are competitors to you. And you get to say, these guys are on the blacklist. It doesn't make them bad people. That just means we won't accept them as clients while we're working together because of that you're asking that. Now, the problem with saying yes, you can have this whole area in South Tampa, or like I'm on the south side of Chicago, is that literally 4 blocks one way might not be who you want, and 4 blocks the other way is exactly who you want. And so what we found is um, that people who like your vibe, your energy, your message, and we'll talk more about this. Guess what, guys? They're gonna come to you. What we've also found is that if there's more than one person promoting stem cells and regenerative medicine in your area, guess what? More patients are buying from both of you. It just is, it's just reality. And when you look at some of these areas and there's 30,000, 50,000, 300,000 people, there's absolutely no way you can spend enough money to saturate out entire locations. Okay. Um, and that one of the questions that somebody from Tampa had asked Scott, like, well, are you competing me or any of the people that are out selling competing? And I just answered that. So I don't need to go into that any further because it is what it is. Scott, is there anything that you want to add before I see if there's any questions from our attendees?
No, I don't think so. I think we've gone over it very well. And like Ed said, this is more of a mentorship, helping you find the leverage points, pushing you to reach those, possibly push you to do things you're uncomfortable with, get outside the comfort zone, because all growth is outside the comfort zone, right? It's our comfort zone that keeps us trapped, and we're going to show you what it looks like outside the comfort zone. That it it sounds like it's a bad thing that it's outside the comfort zone, but I'm telling you, once I got outside the comfort zone, all of a sudden my life got way easier. It's that whole thing of like, if you do what's hard, your life is easy. If you do what's easy, your life's going to be hard.
Yeah,
So it's
100%.
like, I could keep going the same way, doing the same stuff, don't use systems that work, and don't, go into a mentorship. And I'm not even saying it has to be me or
Well,
whatever, but like if if you don't put in the time and effort up front to create that freedom on the back end, it's never going to happen. And so we just in this program took it to simplify it so you can leapfrog, like
oh
Ed
yeah.
said, as fast as possible to that freedom stage. So we'll show you the fastest way to get to the freedom stage, and that's what this is all about.
Yeah, I have two comments, and then we'll if you guys have a question, you can either type in your question into the chat, and then in a second, David, I'll answer that in just a second. Yeah, and then in a second, if we have time, we'll just open up for like if someone has wants to unmute. But let me bring up this because Scott just brought this up. We're asking you to get outside your comfort zone, but the flip side of it's also true, which means you might be destined to just do this. Like like Scott, I mean, we've talked about this. Like you mean all I have to do is go present once a week or once every 2 weeks and get to meet great people, and then Scott's going to help me build systems so my team is actually organizing and orchestrating the fulfillment of it. Well, now you don't have a constraint on one-on-one consults. Does that make sense? Now you're like, okay, well, I'm no longer constrained by X hours a day. If I fill up a webinar room with 100 people, 10 people, or 300 people, it has nothing to do with my time. I'm spending the same 1 hour or 30 minutes there. If we, I think that's like in some of you, I can see there's some really good looking people on this call. Um, I can already tell you, like, if I was going to look at your websites and your socials, I'd be like, more people need to know who you are. More people need to be inspired by you. More people need to be impacted by you. That cool thing that you're doing that you think about inside your office, guess what? 99.9% of the people that surround your block, around your area, have absolutely no clue that that exists. I mean, something as basic as red light therapy. We know this because this is our world. The rest of the world, why would I put red light on my body? Why are you different? Why does it even matter? I mean, so I always tell people, especially now with all the just with the peptides coming up and just the increase in IQ of the general population, you have more people now asking more and more questions. Before we answer questions, Scott, I wanted to bring up the whole idea. We got this question this morning of, well, 2 grand a month. Somebody asked this, and this is a very smart person, by the way. They're like, well, for 2 grand a month, all I want to do is one presentation a month. Can I just pay less? And I started laughing. I just chuckled like I just did right now. I said, no. I said, you're asking the wrong question, brother. I was like, listen to this, guys. A smart person is willing to spend $1,000 to get a 10-hour course or a 10,000 page course, right? A wise person is willing to spend $100,000 to get one page, that entire course summarized on one page with an action list. You're not paying for the 10,000 hours of stuff to consume. You're investing your investment is in getting the one page of like, oh, do this, do this, do this, do this, ignore everything else. Wow, I didn't realize it could be that easy. Okay. I didn't realize it could be that easy. So, all right. So, Scott, let's just bang through some more questions. So anyhow, my challenge to you guys is think like a wise person. Don't think like a smart person. Okay. We're giving you the shortcut. Has nothing to do with the quantity of stuff that we put on. If we were measured by stuff to put on your plate, nobody, um, nobody would be happy because it would just give you more crap. And that's not it's overwhelmed. It's not good. All right. So David asked a good question. Thank you, David. David says 2K per month is minimal, giving the value provided. I mean, even just today is, I mean, if you did one thing with any of it, just be like, okay, we got to reframe this. There's a lot of people charging a lot more doing less valuable stuff. Do you design and build the sales funnel to deploy all these assets? Well, so here, I want to make sure I'm answering this accurately. Okay. So we use Go High Level. Go High Level is the software that we use. And Scott, you could chime in any second in case you want me answering this, like if I'm missing any of the micro parts. You will get that installed into your Go High Level software. So we'll give you a replica of everything that we have, right? And so your first event, yes, we will help get that up, done, live for you, okay? And we'll get the ads set up in Facebook and all that other stuff. If you are like, hey, I want to redesign my website, that's not what we do. We generate leads, we help you pre-qualify them, we help you educate them, we help you close them to make money. We do have people that we could okay, Maggie is our head of operations here at Regen Profit. She said specify that they don't have to have Go High Level. We will, oh, okay, great thing. Hey Jeff, what's up, brother? We're excited. We're excited to have you there. Let me answer that in a second, Jeff. So Go High Level, just so everyone understands, that's a software. It's a marketing software, right? If you buy it on your own, it's like 99 bucks a month. We give you a sub account when you work with us, like you'll have access to it. It'll be like your own, okay? You don't need it to run these events. Like there's a lot of people out there, like Scott's client that does 3 million. Scott, they don't use Go High Level, do they?
No.
Yeah. I mean, so that's what we use. So when you say like, hey, we're not going to go into other systems though and build out stuff for you. That's not what we do. We're going to give you our stuff. All retargeting included. That's all HIPAA compliant, brother. Yes, 100%. Everything's HIPAA. That's all HIPAA compliant. Has nothing to do with HIPAA. That's a great question, though. Let me go up to Jeff. Jeff asked, okay, so should I still attend? We're running a 1 day intensive in Tampa. If you are one of our clients, you get that absolutely free. Okay. If you're not a client, but you'd like to get to like meet us in person and you're kind of hesitant, you want to learn this, but you're not ready to like pull the trigger and get started today, then you could pay $497 and join us in Tampa. If you're just like, I'm not sure if I'm ready or not, that's a great option. But Jeff, I would love for you to be there because I think the learnings will just go deeper. We get to meet you. You're going to get there'll be a few of our clients there, and it's a great day. It's in February 19th, is it, guys? Or is
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Yeah. And you definitely want to be there for that because that will, just like I went over the close today in detail, you're going to get a lot more of the information in extreme detail. So it really clicks on exactly how you're going to implement it and use it in your practice.
But Jeff, what I want to tell you, let me say two things on this. If you were like, hey guys, I want to just jump into the boardroom, the Regen Profits boardroom and Alliance, if you've already paid for Tampa, we just that'll get credited towards your first month with us, just so you know that. Okay. Number two is same thing goes with the $1,000. It'll get credited towards you as well. You said something, Jeff, that made me think of this. Are there any other questions? I see we got Richard, Munir, Frank. Do you guys got any other questions that we should be answering? Um, Scott. Oh, results, like timeline. Okay, so let me answer this. This is a great question. So, what kind of timeline should I expect for results?
Mhm.
Um, I don't want to say the word honestly because I am being honest all the time, but it's like if you have a database of inactive patients, active patients, my first thing I'd encourage you is like you think they know that you're doing what you're doing in your clinic. They don't. And it's so funny. I'll pick on my wife, who we've been married 20 years and we have 7 kids together. And we have like one of our best friends runs a wellness. Scott, you like this. She runs a wellness clinic. She has everything that you need from peptides to HRT, all of it, right? And we were with Jen, our Dr. Jen, and Nola was complaining about fatigue and all the stuff. And Nola's my wife. And Nola's like, or Jen was like, I do all that stuff. And Nola had just paid, I think, $700 to a different clinic that we don't know who they are. We don't have no idea if they're good, bad, ugly, worse, whatever. And it's just, whose fault is that? Well, it's Jen's. Like it's her job to be the ethical propagandist. Like it's her job to be constantly making sure the people in her ecosystem knows about it. Okay. Um, Scott, isn't that funny though? That happens all the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's, a lot of us think that our patients think about us, remember us, whatever, but they come in to get their treatment and they go on to their lives. They've got kids, they've got work, they've got everything else to think of and stress about and whatnot. Like they're not thinking about us. So we just need to stay in front of people as much as possible because the reality is when people start looking this stuff up online and when you Google something, if someone's looking for a solution, they're going to get, you're going to see 6 different companies doing the exact same thing on Facebook or whatever. How do you make sure you are the one that's showing up and showing up the most with the right message for them? Because when people look for things, let's say, my daughter got type 1 diabetes a little over a year ago. And so I was just binging on as much information as I could get on type 1 diabetes and what I need to do with her and, all these different things. So, when people are interested in something, when there's a pain point, they're going to binge and they're going to look at everything. You've got to have that information out there and be in front of those people and not only new people, maybe even more importantly, your own people. So you should be retargeting, doing these $1, $2, $3 a day things to your patients, and so that they are continuing to see you because they're the ones that already know, like, and trust you. those are the easiest ones to get in, and that's where like the biggest part of your margin is going to be in your business. But it's a good point. You got to stay in front of people, and you've got to continue to educate people, and remember that they forget about you right when they leave the office. They've
Well,
got
yeah,
lives, they're busy.
that's right. And you always got to remember too, when is that people are more afraid to lose than they are to gain.
Hmm.
The last thing, like especially with pain and stuff like that, it's why the slides are designed in such a way. Like you saw the hand on the burner thing. Scott has a great wheel of frame. Like, would you ever allow your grandchild or child keep their hand on a burner if they put their hand on the burner? No, you'd get it off as quickly as possible. Why? Because you would never allow the damage to continue to perpetuate in their life. Well, then that's what's happening right now by you masking your pain, right? And so that's a great visceral way for them to do it. But usually they buy when they run out of excuses of everything else. And so like nobody wants to spend 7,500 bucks. Nobody wants to spend, 30 grand to get my shoulder, my knees. Like a lot of times what we find is that people try everything before they go into that. And those are the most grateful patients, but they're also the most fearful and they take the longest to convert. That's why the presentation does it. But Google just came out with this. And David, I'm going to answer your question on webinars in about 2 seconds. Google just came out with this data, which is, is it 8 hours, 11 touch points in 4 different platforms? Like people need 8 hours of education before they feel comfortable to say yes to a big ticket item. And most of you, and this isn't a judgment, by the way, this is every business in the world. It's the same deal. Is they have like a few little posts and they have a bunch of silly stuff that they did for every holiday for social because they think that's what they're supposed to do. Listen to me right now. YouTube is a conversion platform. Facebook and Instagram are interruption problem aware platforms. Our job is to get their awareness, drive them into conversion platforms. Webinars, conversion platform. Lives, conversion platform. One of the things we're going to teach you, we didn't even get into this at all, Scott, is just how to dominate on YouTube in your area so that you rank in the chat GPTs and you also are there so people can consume the content. It's really, really good stuff. Um, David brings up, hey, I got burned before with webinars. What do you recommend for webinars? Well, I mean, there's a couple things on that, but one is, I dated a lot of bad girls before I got married and met the woman of my dreams. So you're going to get things are going to happen. That's part of it. And I would say we use Zoom obviously for this right here. And then if you want to do things automated, I know it's good, right? There's ways to actually just use inside Go High Level or any platform where you could actually keep it super simple, minimal investment and cost. Like we're not talking about adding more stuff. Should I even teach this one, Scott? We send people to YouTube. Like if you look at the emails we've sent out to you guys, we send you back to YouTube a lot. Why do we send you back to YouTube? Because you binge watch. You'll be like, oh, I watched this one testimonial. Now I'm going to watch the interview. Oh, there's a class that he did about, should stem cells be something, or how do I know it's right for me? Like that's a question. What's the expense? Those should all be micro videos. We're now going into bonus rounds, Scott. We're going into bonus rounds here.
Right.
Um, yeah. So, but just remember, I mean, you're trying to mitigate the risk and take people away, and so that's one of the reasons too, guys. Just so you know, that's why we offer a 60-day love it or leave it opportunity. That's not always going to be here. Scott and I've gone back and forth because we don't want people that are thinking only short term. It's just another way to make sure that there's not people in the group that don't want to be there and that we don't want to be there. That's why we give the gateway of like, hey, you can leave it. So you don't have any risk beyond that, like 4 grand. I already know you've all spent more money on that in other places. One of the questions that comes in is how much time will this take us? Well, here's the reality on this. People can lie to you and tell you different things. Fact of the matter is there's a little bit of, you got to get like a little bit of your own IQ leveraged up. And like I think Jeff was saying, he's going to come out to Tampa. You can accelerate that by being live. It's just everything happens faster. That's why live always converts more than non-live. Um, but as far as the system goes, this is not this is not a complicated system. And once you get it rolling, this is an asset that could produce cash for you for a really, really long time. It increases the value of your enterprise value. It generates money on the short-term basis, and it makes your firm or your I want to say firm, your practice more valuable to be sold someday. You can duplicate it into other areas if you've thought about buying another area, thought about replicating it. Very, 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 very good stuff.
Well, on that, on
Yeah,
the time
please
thing,
jump in as much as you want.
it's with the time thing, you know, all of us are going to work and put time in growing our businesses and doing bigger things this year than last year. All we're doing is giving you a blueprint of saying, use your time this way, and you're going to make a lot of money and help a lot of people. So all we're doing is guiding you in the best use of your time to grow. If you want to grow the way that we did, we're going to show you that blueprint of how we used our time, and then you get to choose how to use your time. So that's all
Well,
it really
yeah,
is.
we
Yeah,
already know you're spending time doing too much stuff. Like
yeah.
we already know that. And so while I'm looking up for the next question to come in, again, you guys could head over to regen-profits.com/invite. You have absolutely no risk on the initial deposit. We do that because just like you, we don't want a bunch of freebie looky-loos just trying to jump on calls and get free advice. This is not an advice call. This is a are we a good match call to see if we can truly, we want to know if we can really help you. And that's super duper important to us. I always got to go back to the time thing because, like, it's a time's relative. Would you rather have the same week over week doing the same crap that's not getting you the end result? Because let's just face reality. You're on this call today for a reason. You want an outcome that's better and brighter than the current outcome. That's not even to say your current outcome isn't where you want to be, but if you were totally where you wanted to be in every single level, which I don't know anybody that is, but when it comes to bringing in high value patients, we are the guys that can do this for you. This is the system. You're here. So thank you for being there. Reward. That's a first step in hopefully taking it to the next level. And my answer, especially when I have kids that are super athletes, and it's like, well, oh, I got to go train again. Well, you don't have to go train again. I just know that you want to be a national champion and you want to play at a Big Ten college, and so if that's what you want to do, guess what? This is what we're doing. Now, the good news for you is it doesn't require a lot of time, especially once you get the systems up. And like, I mean, Scott, I can't even tell you how much money he makes leveraging the relationships that he doesn't do presentations anymore. Like, and other people are out there doing them for him. So that's the ultimate leverage of time. We
Yep.
got time for like one or two more, Scott.
David was asking how we managed to contact the new leads within minutes.
Well, I mean, yeah, we'll teach you all that stuff, bro. But like, I mean, the system just does it. Like we have inside our Go High level and inside of the system is like, you're going to need a phone number that's going to be your text messaging and it rocks it out. We have AI included with that. And that is a great way to, get people scheduled in appointments. We still like a human element on that, and we discuss that at a different time. But because there are nuances on different clinics, like so, and I'll just give you a quick example. I've worked with some offices where the front desk is so adamant about blocking anything with AI. That's a person who's not going to last long in their job, by the way. But we're just sensitive. That is not, let me just say this, that is not the secret to filling a room and closing patients. However, because I can't really tell your question on that. Do we have AI chatbots? Go High Level has AI everything. I mean, like you guys can use it at a pretty ridiculous, robust level. I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole because it takes away from the simplicity of fill a room, fill a webinar, do this presentation. Guess what? you're going to get high paying patients. See what I mean? But yes, we are all experts on AI. It's what we study every day, by the way. And the cool thing about with the direction on which the boardroom and alliance is going is that when we're all progressing on utilizing AI, and I'm talking about AI avatars, AI clones, AI images and content, you should never be missing any opportunity to be in front of your leads and prospects. I could tell you that. Voice AI is getting better by the second. And so you don't need to be going out when you work with us. You don't need to be going out and hiring other firms to be installing AI marketing systems into your clinic, which actually I think is your question on that. You might be asking that. Um, Okay, I want to hit a couple little quick notes, Scott, and you can chime in as you want. Now, the money thing, the time thing. So we talked about time briefly. I mean, whatever it takes to do it. Now, money thing. Listen, like I said before, 2 grand is not something to sneeze at, but then again, it's not a lot either, right? You're already losing that much a month that goes by without you being a part of something that's guaranteed to produce a lot more than that. And I guarantee if I went through your agency and I audited everything that was going on, we would find that you're wasting money in other places. Fair? Totally fair. So that's not the most important part. The allocation of it is super important. So the question you're probably really asking is like, okay, if I invest in working with Dr. Scott directly in this group, does it prevent my postcard campaign? Does it prevent my local search ads campaign? And the answer to that, I can't give you totally because we need to ask you like, how is it producing? What are they doing? What are the numbers they're giving you? And maybe that's some strategic direction on our first call together that may actually open your eyes to like where there might be some waste and where there is some opportunity. Okay. Um, and then the real question on all of it is by being a part of this, where are we going to be at? And so that's why we hold that criteria. Like if you're not trying to at least generate an extra 20 to 100K a month, this is not for you because 2 grand a month becomes nothing if you're adding another 24, 30, 50K a month and you got systems that increase the enterprise value. So it's no longer a money situation. Um, it's just that you just want to push this off. Okay. So um, the other thing that I think is something I want to address before I let you guys go is a lot of times people are like, well, hey, I've tried agencies before, I've tried mentoring before, and if you've tried a ton of coaches, if you've tried a ton of mentoring and you've never gotten value, then I guarantee we are not going to be your next person that is enabled to create value. And what I mean by that is that Scott would agree with this. We both believe in hiring mentors and getting the slight edge of people ahead of us. Uh, I've always found value. Scott, you may agree with me on this. I know you do, is even in working with mentors where they underdelivered, I still found value even if it was in the underdeliverment. Does that make sense? Like there's always ways to find value, even if it wasn't just a relationship. So when people say like, "Hey, I've tried stuff before," I get it on the agency side because agencies are not all made equal. So that's not really part of the conversation. But if you've tried things in the past and you're like, well, I'm going to push this off and I'm just go listen to another free workshop to hopefully get some ideas from. Like, I'll tell you a funny story. There was a guy on one of our trainings, he listened to 6 hours and his answer was this was some interesting stuff. And I thought to myself, that guy in 90 days is going to be in the same spot he was before he got on the call. And I I know because I know some of the people that he's worked with, that's the case. Interesting is a BS word. It's either hell yeah, this is going to work for me, or the answer is no. But you can't play around in interesting because you'll never do anything interesting. Did you ever think about that? You're only going to do things if you're saying like this is a serious something I'm going to take serious. Like think about that. You want to lose weight? You never did it if you thought that was an interesting diet. That's an interesting workout. You don't do that, or that'd be nice. You only do stuff where you like, look, here's my priorities. I got business growth, I got family time, I got health, and whatever else is cluttering up my time, hanging out with Netflix. I'm only going to make massive leverage points in my life when I take it serious. I'm going to make a serious decision that this is the time in the year that I make the biggest leaps in my financial life and my overall net worth because I'm serious about I'm going to prioritize this. And hell or high water, I'm making this thing work. That is the only way it gets done. Scott and I can both tell you stories about us when we've gotten our ass kicked at different times in life. And usually that's a bad strategy, by the way, to wait till your ass has been completely kicked to finally get serious about something. But usually it's the person that's more serious about taking it to the next level is the person that is going to take it to the next level. And here's the thing, it should be adventurous and it should be a lot of fun and
Yeah.
doing it with people you should enjoy. So when I say serious, I'm not saying like you're a curmudgeon. I'm saying like no, I'm going to be a killer this year. I'm going to be the best at what I do this year, and we're going to take this to the next level. Despite what's going on in the world, all that's just noise. We are going to make things happen. So, Scott, we're going to wrap this up. Is there anything else you want to add or anything you want to close out with?
No, I mean, I just, you know, first of all, I hope you take that close and use it. If you're doing talks, if you're doing stuff online, use it. That will probably give you an extra 50,000 this year easily. But I just appreciate everyone staying on this long. We'd love to see you in Tampa. Would love to talk to you if you do want to grow your practice this year. If you are just sick and tired of doing the same stuff and like trying to get this thing going, I can show you the blueprint of how docs are getting that $20 to $100,000 a month. So sign up and see if we're a good fit. Again, you may not be. We'll refund it. No big deal. And if you're on the fence, come with us in Tampa, and that's going to be a real fire hose of a ton of valuable information. So either way, connect with us somehow. If this seems interesting and you're all in for this year, then let's go. Let's do it together.
All right, great job, Scott. Thanks, Maggie. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, David. Thanks, Jeff, Munir, and everybody else who's still on. Appreciate you. Have an amazing day and look forward to hearing from you soon. All right, bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.